friends. Yes. Awesome. This is amazing. All right. So this all came about essentially because in the end of December, for about 4 or 5 weeks, I noticed that all of a sudden I was getting a ton of referrals. Out of nowhere, there was all of a sudden a lot of interest in Daytona Beach, where for almost 2 years, there really wasn't. People were asking Janet for, do you service Jacksonville? No, I don't, but I know who does. Do you service Titusville? No, I don't, but I've got a great guy. Let me connect you. So it's always that. And then all of a sudden I started getting referrals right and left. And that was really delightful. And you know why I was getting them was because I had relationships with all of y'all peeps. And you all mean so much to me. And I noticed too that there were a lot of people who have been really intentional about building their relationships with the agents we've met. And the 4 people that I brought on with us today, specifically, they have become friends. I've actually eaten popovers at Jack Smith's house. Philip makes a mean popover. This would never have happened. I wouldn't know Dan Tamarkin, Jack Smith, or Louise Weiss if it hadn't have been because of stupid COVID and all of the outreach. Because let me tell you, these people have picked up the phone and called me. They've texted me. And I'm going to be blunt. They didn't put me on a drip. And I want you all to think about, what's it feel like when someone that you don't actually know and they say they're a Keller Williams agent, like you should know them, and they've sent you the data about their town, and maybe they don't even say like what state they're in. It just says, I'm at Keller Williams Prestige. I want to be your referral partner for, someplace I don't even know. And how does that make you feel when you get those, right? And they went to the trouble. They actually did the step to start a system, and you have to start somewhere. So props for that, right? But I wanted to really highlight our friends, Deborah Morris, Louise Weiss, and Jack Smith with us today, because these people have been intentional and they made a great impression on me and made me feel special, which is good. Some of us like to feel special. Who doesn't? Who likes to feel special? Raise your actual hand. All of you. See, there you go. I love it. Now, I believe that our friend Louise Weiss is either going to be late or might not actually make it because she was going to
funeral. Yeah, Shannon, I'm participating right now as I'm driving back. So I'll mute and I'll stand by, but I should be off of the road in 10 minutes.
All right, be safe, honey. So I wanted to let you know how these 3 peeps have impressed me. Deborah Morris has had me on a drip since 2016 and followed up with phone calls because we took a class together, and she's called me. Deborah, do you remember what class that was?
Honestly, I don't. All I know is that it is purposeful every time that I end up doing a class to go up to people that I don't know and just say hello. So you name it, I was there.
Right.
Cultural something or other, maybe.
It could have been, or profit share. But the point is, she started a system, and she actually implemented the system. This was like 2016. I had gone to family reunion and I'd gotten all these business cards, and man, I was on it. I sent, I put them in my database. I texted some of those people, and that was great. On the way home from family reunion, I had like no idea what to do for follow-up. And frankly, there's a whole lot of people that I have no idea who they are in my database because I never followed a system. And so Deborah actually did. And she's been, one of these days, she's going to be like Wendy Papasan with 9,000 people in her agent to agent database. So that's exciting. Now, Louise, I don't know about you, but Louise sends me fun things in the mail. And she also calls me. She is also the queen of business birthday cards, which we all acknowledge today. It's a beautiful thing. Who here has gotten a card of any sort from Louise Weiss? Raise your actual hand. And how'd that make you feel? Anybody unmute and say how that made you feel?
Cards always make people feel warm and
Special.
fuzzy.
Warm and fuzzy.
Yes, yes,
Great, feels great.
Yeah, amazing.
it
Much
is.
gratitude.
And
Yeah.
okay, so Louise, know you're loved. Jack Smith, where is Jack? Is he on here? Can we
I'm
spotlight
gonna
him?
go. I'm gonna find Jack. I don't think he's on yet. I don't see him in the participant
Okay.
list.
Okay, ladies, has anybody besides me, I would like to think I'm the only one, who has received a message from Jack Smith that said, "Hello, gorgeous." Ronnie,
I got that message. I got that message too, Janet.
Yeah, I think I
Excellent.
got that one too.
I was the only one.
but
And I'm
what-
starting to feel left out.
You know, I
Wait a minute,
am
I'm gonna have to
gorgeous.
talk
That's
to
what they
Jack.
say.
I got one that's a
Non-partial,
little, I got one that's a
non-partial.
little scary.
I haven't got that.
Like you're the only one getting
Next
that.
time.
Well, I guess I'm not the only one. But the key is, though, that he did make us all feel special. If we've had an interaction with him, we have felt special. And he always is the king of giving credit where credit is due. And I've learned so much from him about that. And I know that he's built a lot of his business this year and that of his team, and they're all delightful individuals, have done a lot to, reach out to me via text or help me at PIP one when I didn't have a charger or some darn thing, and Divya went out and bought me one. I mean, that is relationship building, in my opinion. So
Can I just say, can I say something, Janet?
Yes, ma'am.
Jack has always exemplified gratitude. Like from the moment he started with this community back in 2020, it was all about being grateful and just giving credit where credit is due to everybody. He doesn't have one selfish bone in his body. He just puts it out there and makes everybody feel special. And I just wanted to acknowledge that. And I wish he was on. I really wish he was on right now. I love him.
I know we're on his calendar, and his calendar has moved around a lot. We're grateful to have him in our lives. Now, I have some questions for Louise, Jack, and Deborah. And because Deborah is not driving her car right now and is actually here, I'm going to ask Dan to highlight, pinpoint, spotlight, whatever those crazy words are, our friend Deborah. All right. And Deborah, I wanted to ask you, how long have you been intentionally building your agent-to-agent database?
From day one. From day one. So my whole idea is I've always had the personality that I don't mind walking up to a stranger or somebody sitting behind them by themselves. So 10 years ago, I started with Keller Williams, and as a new agent, completely from a different profession. And so I took that opportunity when I was at classes or at family reunion to walk up to somebody and say, hey, I have, and I would make a challenge, I want to meet somebody from every state, or I just wanted to meet you or whatever. So that way I can go back, and yes, I've been a lot more intentional in questions of what I would ask. So that way they feel more comfortable when I follow up. And a lot of times I'd be goofy about it. And I was like, yeah, I'm the type of person that likes to just pick up the phone once in a while. No, you never hear about people that do that anymore, but I just want to call it. Would that be okay? And just do something so they know that they're going to remember me when I call.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, from day one, that's my personality. That's the way I choose, because I'm a relationship person, and that's the way I want to live my life.
And you work with your husband, Chuck, don't you?
Yes. He came on board about 6 years ago, come from an IT background, and that was my weakness. Is IT. It would go crazy whenever something doesn't work. I want to get in, get it taken care of, and get out real fast. And so, especially when things constantly change, that's when he does come in and relieve me to so that I can do what I do best. And that's now. Can we hit a mute all, and I'll get back on? Anyway,
Yes, let me see if I can
Thank you.
get that.
Thank you, Dan. I was just going to ask for that. I'm glad that we have young future agents.
yes. Anyway, but I just wanted to just make sure that everybody knows that we're all different personalities, and my husband and I are definitely opposite. I always say that his eye is getting a lot stronger now. Because
Yep.
when he knows you, he'll talk to you forever and ever and ever. Yet I'll be the one that walks up to the stranger. So again, we're all from different personalities. And
you're playing.
Dan, click.
sorry,
All right.
you got to unmute again, I guess.
Yes. And Deborah, you're playing to your strengths. So that this is working out very well for you. Tell the people where you are.
Oh, that's right. I always say North Orlando because Orlando is very large. And so it'll be north of Disney. Yes, we can cover other areas. It's just when you start getting busier, you want to focus on your best use of time. I'd say within an hour drive. And I'm in the Seminole County area, which is where a lot of technology and bigger corporations have moved to. So once that you end up getting your fill of the tourist area, definitely come see me because we have some gorgeous, gorgeous subdivisions all up here in Seminole County.
And Deborah is about 45 minutes from my house in Daytona Beach. All right, cool. Out of curiosity, about what percentage do you think your business is that's from agent to agent referral at this time?
Well, I was looking at that earlier. I actually only have about 10% agent to agent because honestly, I have about 65% referral business overall. So it's just a matter of keeping in touch. I think that the pivot group this past year has really gotten us intentional to get out there and have a good way of advertising, putting in our marketing, the fact that we can help each other around the country. So I know that the other two aren't on, and I have all these notes to go through the rest of the the rest of the conversation. But yes, I see a lot of potential as far as picking that resource and utilizing it a lot stronger now that we have each other.
I noticed because you and I have met here in the coast and had lunch recently with a client of yours, and we've chatted about this, that you were active in the Pivot Shift chat, but you weren't speaking up. And I've noticed that you've been more intentional about speaking up in the pivot calls in the morning. Would you agree that you're doing that?
Yes, and I'm also the type of personality, I don't mind being center of attention, but I can would much rather other people stand up and be the center of attention. I have a good and bad habit of sometimes taking over a conversation. So I am aware of that. And so it is something that I'm working on, is to let the others shine.
Okay, well, with that in mind.
Yes.
We'll
so that's why I pick up the phone and say, hey, it's me.
And it's a beautiful thing, and I appreciate that. So Louise, are you pulled over now? Louise Wise? Oh, she might be muted.
Jack is back.
Yay.
Jack is back.
Jack, are you available?
I'm right here, guys. Sorry about that.
Yay.
I couldn't get in. I didn't have the link. I had the registration, but no link. Thank you. Got in.
We love you, Jack.
I love you more.
How long have you intentionally been building agent to agent relationships, Jack?
Just since we started PIP. I mean, I had built other relationships, but not inside KW. And it was when PIP started that as we all know, it's the family that we didn't know we wanted, or the family we didn't know we needed. So, and the family that we now all love each other. So it's really changed my world with the PIP group. I certainly am very involved with the Rainbow group as well, have always been. But the PIP group is really where my heart is.
Well, thank you. And one thing that I appreciate about you, Jack, is that if I ever send you a message and say, I need help with a situation or a this or a that, you pick up the phone and call me right back. And it just makes me feel like you're my brother and I can count on you.
You're very lovely. And I feel that way about a lot of people there. I have some siblings, but you guys are more my siblings than my own blood siblings. I'll tell you that.
Well, we feel it. I know you're driving. Do you have any idea how much of your business this year has been agent to agent relationships?
Well, last year it was about $200,000. This year it's probably been about 100 and, let me just think, we probably get, Janet, I know it sounds really odd to say, we probably get 4 or 5 referrals a week.
Yeah.
So I would say we're pretty close to either $100,000 to $150,000 already this year.
Mhm. And what part of the world are you in case anybody has missed that you're in St. Pete and you're luxury?
Well, I'm St. Pete. Well, I'm not just luxury. I know everybody thinks that just because what I say when I answer the phone, but because it became a habit from another agent in luxury to say that when you go to Mega Camp and you go to family reunion, you hear all these little tidbits that stick to you. So I just answer the phone. Jack Smith, Keller Williams Luxury. How may I help you? But we sell. I just listed a $175,000 mobile home that is from PIP Group as well. So I don't just sell luxury. I mean, we do sell a lot of it, but we don't just sell luxury. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. You're good in all of those fields. And I'm curious, what has been your system in these last 2 years, or can you share some of your system as to how you've built and nurtured these relationships with your PIP and your Rainbow people?
Well, the first thing I can say is that I do 3 I've always called daily to 2 or 3 people. I'm now very intentional about calling 5 people a day since we came back from family reunion. With the Rainbow people, I'm more touch base here and there when they're top of mind. They're certainly in my DTD2, but I don't know all of them. I know quite a bit. There's probably virtually it was about 25 of us that were on it every single week. Now since family reunion, and we had that big workshop, we've got about 50 people on. It's, it's a service that's not used a lot, and I don't know why, but I think that one thing that James has drilled into us with PIP is that we manage our relationships and stay in touch with people, right? And we do our DTD2. And I reach out. Dan's on the call, you're on the call, every once I just reach out to say hello. So I think it's just a matter, I don't know, it's top of mind, but I think it's more about caring about people that you think about, right?
Right. Okay, awesome. And is Louise Weiss in the house yet?
I'm still driving, but I can answer.
Louise, how long have you been intentionally building your agent-to-agent relationships?
It's definitely been since we started Pivot.
Okay.
2 years.
And have you noticed an uptick in your referral business from Pivot?
Absolutely. Last year I had 34%, or 34% of my business was from referrals.
Awesome.
So 1 in 3 of my transactions was referral based.
That is really sweet. That is really sweet. And I'm curious, how much of that is from relationships you've intentionally built or from Facebook or the command referral system?
So for the people that know me, they know that I really just started learning about the Facebook.
Well,
so
that's
it's really been the pivot call, and telephone calls and email.
And
it
maybe
hasn't
a
been
card.
socially. Yes, exactly.
So what have you done to build these systems to make sure that you're building your relationships with other agents?
So one of the things I do is I advertise myself on the Pivot Call and other Zooms as SoFlo Louise for South Florida Louise. And I pretty much know a lot of agents down here, a lot of wonderful, fantastic agents. I see some on this call today. And so when people call me, or when people have a referral need in Florida, they call me, even if it's in a completely different part of Florida than I'm in. And I connect them to some people so they can make some informed decisions. And at the conclusion of that, and Jack and I just had this conversation about a week and a half ago, at the conclusion of that, I say, I'm introducing you to Agent A meet Agent B, and so forth and so on. I got that from Jack. And then I conclude it with, And when you have a referral need in Palm Beach or a real estate need in Palm Beach County, who comes to the top of your mind? So I'm reminding them that I'm here.
Yes, yes. Okay. This just reminded me that I had in on my notes that I wanted to impress upon all of y'all, lovely people who are not driving cars right now. Take this moment and rename yourself. Now, Louise is driving her car, so she's showing up as Louise Weiss, but we know that normally we will see her as SoFlo Louise. So please take this moment, and this is an actionable step to go ahead and rename yourself, your name and the place you are. Excellent. Good job. And I just happened to notice that we have some folks who have been making comments in the chat, and someone said, "What is PIP?" And thank you, Dan. So Desiree Zealand from Wilmington to Outer Banks in North Carolina asks, what is PIP? So PIP is Pivot in Person, which was a fabulous opportunity. We had, I don't know, 150 of us to get together in person back in August. And excellent. All right. So continuing on. So Louise, you have piped up in more of our groups and have not been a secret agent. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes. I've been purposeful and intentional about it.
Yes. And you've also set up a system where you're looking up everybody's birth dates and making sure all those people get some love the month of their birthday. Would you be comfortable in sharing with us your SMART plan for that? That helps you do that?
Absolutely not. Of course, I don't mind. We all help each other. So it's generated from the Corey's pivot spreadsheet. If you're on the pivot spreadsheet, you're going to get a birthday card from me as long as you have the correct address in there. And we import the pivot spreadsheet into our command database. And then you can set up a SMART plan. And my SMART plan is something like this. X days before the birthday, I'm notified to send a card out. And then the person receives the card. I have a step to call them on their birthday. I also send them a text on their birthday. And I think it also includes an email. And that's it. It's short and sweet. And then I've recently, because it's grown so much, I mean, I'm sending between 45 and 60 cards a month now. So I have one delivery date and I mail things out about a week before the following month. And then I send a text to people saying, hey, I've mailed your birthday card for next month. Don't open it until your birthday. And that's it. Short and sweet.
And just so you know, I think Ronnie DiCarlo has just put in the database link. Am I right about that? If he hasn't, I hope somebody will. Like Dan.
For the Corey database?
I did.
So you only get a database link if you're have filled out the proper form, right? And an active member of PIP.
Or Pivot.
Pivot, rather. So yeah, there's a little bit of vetting before we just send it out.
Right.
All right. So every time anyone fills out the form, I get notified, and then I send them a welcome letter with the proper links as to how to address how they get it's a 3-tab spreadsheet. One of them it's up to like 650 people on it now. One of them has the instructions how to import that spreadsheet into Command. And the 3rd tab is the template from Command that you will need to follow the instructions.
Now, Paul, I have told you that I love you in the most appropriate way, Lee. Paul, because you've done these wonderful things for us and been so so proactive to help keep us all together. I would imagine that some people might have a mindset that's saying, oh, I don't want my friends or these people to they're just going to assume that they're receiving this birthday card or this Christmas card or whatever, because I'm in a system. And if your mindset is going there, I would like to remind you that our fearless leader, James Shaw, put Terry on an 8x8 to just make sure that he was developing his relationship with his future wife back in the day. And just remember what it feels like if you get a birthday card from Louise or from me when I remember to send them, or a text from me when I remember to send it, or if I sing to you when I remember to do it. My system is clearly not flawless. But the point is, it is about building these relationships. And clearly we can see that we all value these relationships, even though we're being systematic, hopefully, or becoming systematic about developing it. So for our Zoom participants, we all remember the daylight savings time fallback situation, and our email inboxes all blew up from our various agent friends who, put us on a system, and maybe not the best system. And we remember what James said about that. So I would like to ask you all to put your hands up, and we're going to take your hands. What does it mean to you to come from contribution? What are some things, this is part of the mastermind now, y'all. What are some of the things that we can do to come from contribution to our agent friends and colleagues, and to the people that we want to develop relationships? Maybe we don't know them yet. It's just a name, and we sort of saw them in the chat on the pivot call or in the Script Jedi call. Any ideas? Okay, Dan.
All right,
Ronnie,
so Ronnie, can you hear me, Ronnie?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right,
Yes.
so when I think of Ronnie, I think of the RPR and how you've leveraged that as a tool for you. Tell me a little bit about that, and tell us a little bit more about other things that you do to get your name out there.
So using this beautiful tool, I found that it makes sense that our time is valuable. We know that. And what's the highest and best use of our time? Okay. And that's getting in front of somebody belly to belly, like Bob Vecito says. So I created a way to do an RPR in less than 10 minutes. And those of you that have called me, Donna's shaking her head yesterday. I had Jack Smith this morning, and I just got off the call. That's why I was late to come on this, with somebody in New Jersey that called me and say, hey, this looks a little funky. Can you help me? We did it in less than 10, 15 minutes. That's the key, guys, because our time is so freaking valuable. And it works hand in hand with what we're calling the old CMA this year. It's equity analysis. And thank you, Dan, for the lead in, because what I was going to say, Janet, was I try to take this like I do with my buyers, sellers, and investors. They all subscribe to what's in it for me. So it's not about me. It's about you guys. That's what it's about. When somebody calls me out of the blue and says, well, this goes to bold. Those of us who have been in bold, it's called the RAS, Reticular Activated System. When somebody calls me and says, so-and-so said, I must use you, and they're in Texas, that's when I know I'm getting the message out that, okay, I can help them. And I am grateful for the opportunity each and every time.
excellent.
Thanks, Ronnie. Dean, when I think about you, Dean, I think about Chicago, and I think about like words of wisdom, how you've every time, every day, you're one of the first people to raise your hand, and not just raise your hand for the sake of raising your hand, but you always bring something to the conversation. And I think you're respected for that. How has that helped you with name recognition and your business?
Well, thanks a lot for letting me share and the opportunity to do so. I really you know, to a large degree, this, I mean, I'm not trying to sound unhumble, but this is the way I work with people every day and how I treat my family and my friends. And if there's something, you know, I've never been a shrinking violet, as you know, Dan, you know, so if there's something I think that could be helpful and help other people, God bless them. I mean, these are things I've just learned. And, you know, my dad was a salesperson. We always told stories. If you think I have some stories, he had 100 times more of them, you know. And in terms of how I get out where I am, I mean, I'm in Chicago. I think most people know where I'm from in Chicago. Even no matter where you are, you've heard about Chicago. You've heard about the Chicago Cubs, Chicago Bulls. You've heard about Italian beef sandwiches by now. You know, we're famous for our pizza. You know, you're famous for our hot dogs. So I have a little bit of fun with that. I remember my background, I vary. This is my corporate logo here for our team. But, you know, sometimes when we're having fun, I'll put a hot dog behind there with all the things on it, all the dressing and all that. And I don't do that just to be a kind of a loud, boisterous guy or anything. But I mean, it reminds people who you are, where you are, because they don't know who you are, where you are. You know, it's funny, by the way, with Facebook, when you put your location in, it doesn't necessarily mean that every Facebook you're on that carries. Because I had to do it here. But most people know where I'm from. They tell me I have some kind of a Chicago accent. I didn't even know I had a Chicago accent. There was such a thing as a Chicago accent, but now I know there is. So it's basically, to answer your question, guys, Dan, it's just being comfortable with yourself, being honest with who you are, and being open. And if I along the way help you guys or inspire you guys, that's fantastic. And I love telling clean jokes when we're together.
Yeah.
Although the other ones we can work on. But anyway, but no, it's fun. I mean, I always, through life, I've always tried to add a little bit of humor in everything I do. Some that goes over the top. but I you know what I'm saying? I try to be light. You know, what's the book? It was a book I read once that said, treat yourself seriously, but treat yourself lightly, but your topic seriously. Okay. I sell real estate. I'm very good at it, but I'm not going to beat you over the head with it. You'll know because you'll engage with what we do. We know we're serious, but we're not going to just pound you on it. Just let's have fun.
What I've heard you say, Dean, to a certain extent, and heard everyone else say something similar, is that everyone has like their own brand. Your brand is Chicago and knowledge. I was looking in the chat, and some people said Dan, the spreadsheet guy. You know, the master or the business planning clinic guy. I mentioned Ronnie and RPR and the equity analysis. Louise and the birthdays. Jack and his, you know, just the way he you know, the relationships and the, you know, the gratitude guy. We could say that of Bree. We could say of Ellie or Ellie's energy. So as I guess what I'm hearing is that everyone has kind of identified something and you know, branded themselves and then brought that to the group. Karen, I'm going to go to you next. One of the things that I had the opportunity to do was see you in Atlanta, and I appreciated you coming out to meet with me. And just curious to know, what else have you done to brand yourself, and how has that improved your business?
Well, I wanted to say that this is such a timely mastermind because I haven't done it. I don't feel like I've done a great job. However, I've started writing a list, which I sent to you, Dan and Janet, about some possible questions to ask the other agents on the other side. So in other words, I just gave out referrals to agent without asking them anything because, you know, I trust this group. However, what I realize is that I still need to communicate with them what I expect as an outgoing referral agent and let them know what I can offer as an incoming referral agent to bring value to them. So that's something I'm working on and I haven't implemented yet, but I'm so thankful for this group and for all of you who inspire me to do better.
Hey, Karen, would it be valuable,
Yes.
do you think, for us to have a mastermind about actually best practices to give and receive and service referrals?
I love that. Yeah, I
Well,
think that'd be great.
I'm thinking that maybe we can do this in, I don't know, 6 weeks or so, maybe a month. And so you all
Sure.
start putting together questions or ideas, or notice where you see opportunities where we can get better at things. Because I have to say, it's true. When I started all of a sudden getting this influx of referrals, which was a blessing, it also showed me that I didn't really have a system in place, and not everybody uses command referrals. So, I was getting them in different ways and in different conditions. We can talk about that more later. Sorry to interrupt, Dan.
That's wonderful.
That's perfect. Deborah, so tell us a little bit more about, I guess, your brand. It sounds like your brand is included just being purposeful about being connected with people.
Yes, I have no problem picking up the phone. So many of you that's on here have received a phone call, and luckily I do end up getting to talk to a lot of you in person just to see how you're doing, how the market's doing in your area. What I've been doing with a lot of business to business are more what I call, you're referring to, Dean, as far as the words of wisdom videos, and I've incorporated that with some of you agents. Because if I can end up having my YouTube channel where people already go to for businesses, and actually have them see something about what's going on, like Minnesota, we did the other day. I think Ness, where I didn't get, but anyway, she had just, and then another agent in Virginia, what's going on with your city, just really quick. But the point is to get us more aware on the various different platforms. And that's one of the ways that I like to help others, because a lot of people don't realize how much of a resource we all are. So that's what I've been doing and what I use as contribution. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you.
Thanks, Deborah. Yep, the veterans bike ride. So thanks.
Yep.
Donna, your business has blown up from over the last couple of years, and to what extent of it is just kind of being part of this group? Like without this group, what would have been different, and how would your business look differently? And as a result of this group, what's changed in the way your business is?
Yeah,
your business looks.
Thank you for that, Dan. I do appreciate that. So here's what this group has meant to me. It's given me a place where not only can I show up and be me, but I can be around people who show up and they are themselves. And they are consistently always there for you. And to me, that was the most important. This group, this sounds corny, but being in the mastermind every morning and working through issues and topics and helping each other has actually made me fall back in love with real estate. I was kind of sitting on the sidelines. If I did business, I did business. If I didn't, okay, fine. But this group makes me want to be better. Here's the thing. I come to this group and there is so much information that I take away and use in my business or pass on to people who aren't in our group, that I feel, I won't say obligated, but I feel beholden to come and bring something to the group, to show up, to be on call, if you will. I mean, literally, if someone calls me with a question, I will do everything I possibly can to take that phone, a shift person. I will do everything I possibly can to take that phone call, find some sort of resource, talk them down off the roof if that's what needs happening, or tell them where to go. I feel that this group is so precious. And like Jack says, the family that you never knew you needed, there isn't, I think I said to my significant other, my husband-like person this morning, I said, I know that there's somebody in this group, no matter what the question is, they have the answer and they are willing to share it with me and take, an hour if that's what it's going to take. Send me stuff, give me, it's just an amazing environment that just makes me want to get up and go help somebody else.
So Donna, you said something there that made me just think about, to what extent do you get referrals as and to what extent do those referrals come to you because of those relationships that you've given something versus you saying, hey, I'm in Connecticut, send referrals to me. I get the sense that sometimes people's like, hey, I'm here, I'm your Florida referral person, I'm your Kentucky referral person. And that doesn't really resonate. That doesn't build rapport. That doesn't build trust, right?
No, exactly. And yeah, that is true. When I get referrals from this group, it's normally, it's often somebody, I don't even know who they are, but they said, you know, I've seen you and I felt comfortable with you and I thought you could take care of my sister, my brother, my cousin, my best friend. It's some sort of a personal connection, which for me is like the highest compliment. Now, I love the fact that, you know, Bree, Sasha, Z, they kind of nicknamed me Auntie Donna. I mean, I love that accolade. You know, it says to me, people are seeing me as kind, welcoming, concerning, you know, a little bit of tough love at times, but you know, someone who will care. So yeah, I do referrals myself, you know, send them out. But if I see, I'll try to do, I think Louise was saying it, I try to do the matchmaking. If I know that, you know, somebody in a different part of the country, or, you know, when I send out little things to remind people where I am, you know, there's certain towns that I list, but at the end I say, but if you're just thinking about Connecticut, call me. I'll tell you who the best person is to go to because I use them myself. And that's the truth. I'm not wanting to drive across Connecticut to cover, you know, we all could, but, you know, I want you to have the specialist. I want you to have the person who can really do the best job for you.
I'm glad you said that because I had a conversation with someone and I'll go over to Jordana. And this is, you know, there are times when I had someone mention just this week that they felt like there were referrals that should have come to her in her area, but they went to someone else who was outside of the area that may not have served their client as well. And on the one hand, there's probably some truth to that. On the other hand, someone else had a relationship and that relationship made a difference. So Jordana, you know, when we think about the relationships, one of the things that I really appreciate about you is that, you know, I see you participating, you follow up with me and others, and you've built relationships with people online, which is kind of amazing. How do you like? I'd like people to just kind of have some tangible ideas, something they can implement. So, you know, kind of like Louise has the birthday cards. You know, what are things that you can do or that you do that can help others?
Well, first of all, Dan, I adore you. I see you. I'm like, makes me happy to see everybody on here and see you on here. But first of all, that's a big part of it. It makes me happy. I see Jody smiling here. Like I just see people. And first of all, we're very visual people. And when we put our pictures on, sometimes people go, well, I don't want to put my picture on, you know, a sign. It's not really about how we look. It's about the visual, right? So if I see, for example, I'll see Jody here and I think about my cousin who lives in Minneapolis. I see LaKayla and I think about my friend who lived in Norfolk. So I think it's sometimes the pictures come in my head. I think I see Jack Smith. Come on, everybody vote for Jack Smith. He's the, I shared the link. I shared the link. But so I think to me, and I know there's sometimes formulas, text 5 and do this, do that. And honestly, for me, like you talk about authentic and genuine, it has to come from my heart. I'm not just saying I got to text 5 people today. I think of the person. And I think like just looking here too, I think it's important. Like I say, Dan Goon, I'm glad you put Houston and all. I see sometimes people with suburbs. I don't know what the suburb is. Deb Bennett, I see her. Like I was just thinking about how, like we were talking about sharing and she said, well, I saw you send cards. What company do you use? So just sharing with one another what we do and how we do it. But for me, truthfully, it has to come from the heart first. And like I said, Chris, I'm looking at Chris right now. I think of my aunt and uncle in Wisconsin. So like just those visualizations I think are important, and think of the person as a human being, not just as a number. And that's really what it comes down to me. In Kimbrough, Minnesota too. So everybody.
If I can just say, Jordana doesn't only send cards, she sends brownies.
Nice.
Nice touch.
Can I interrupt
Janet?
just really quick? You know, a lot of us that are talking today have been in this group for quite a long time. And you know, there are new people who come to our group, and what could someone new to the Pivot Shift call do, or the Pivot community? Because we know that there's also the script and role play, and also the power hours that we have, which are also other ways to meet agents from around the country. For people who are shrinking violets, not Uncle Dean, right, and gregarious, for the shrinking violet types, what would you guys think are good ideas that someone new to our big warm family, so that they can get their foot in the door and not feel like a Johnny come lately? Anybody have ideas about that?
I do.
Okay.
I was thinking.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Louise. I saw you waving your hand and you're back on. Oh, and Nicole, we'll come back to you, okay?
I'm from contribution. Always. If you're too shy to speak up and you have something you can do to contribute, you know, it isn't uncommon for any of us to reach out. I see you, Richard. It isn't uncommon for any of us to reach out after we've heard something on a Zoom call and make a personal contact and say, hey, what can I do to help? And that's, I've sent them out, I've received them. And there's, you know, we see information in the chat, people looking for matches, right? Agent matches. And it may not even be in our area, but we know an agent that is there. We reach out to that agent and connect them. It's just always coming from contribution. And I believe in the boomerang effect. What we put out there comes back to us.
Nicole, you mentioned, or I saw you raise your hand, Nicole Young.
Yes.
And before you answer, I was just thinking about a couple of people who, you know, there are some people that have come to the group relatively recently that all of a sudden I'm aware of, like Chaz Bradley's one person that comes to mind. And another person is Rhett Campbell. Like, he wasn't part of the group, and all of a sudden now everyone knows Rhett Campbell is. And that was just largely by stepping up and just, again, they're always contributing something, you know, with Chaz, it's always a huge smile and a lot of positive energy. He's amazing. And with Red, you know, it's a lot of words of wisdom, I find. So Nicole, in addition to that, what sort of things do you think that someone new could do to just, again, raise their hand, come above the crowd and be seen?
Well, when Janet posed that question, and I'm sorry, I'm not able to change my name and everything, I'm driving. When she posed that question, I actually took that to heart and self-reflected with myself. And what can I do? Because I've been in the group for a little bit, not quite the inception, but I've been in the group for quite some time. And the backdrop came out a little bit, then went back to the backdrop. I think one of the things I was going to do, and I'm putting this commitment out to you guys, I want to be present at 7:30 in the morning, screen on, just like Bree, just like everybody with the screen on. That is going to be my accountability. If you guys don't see me, this is huge accountability. That sounds like 100 people on here. So that's a lot of people coming after me. So I need to be present 7:30 in the morning with my screen on the Pivot Shift call. That's one thing they can do. Another thing they can do, and I could do, is contribute more on the Facebook page. Your daily activities. What are some things that worked out for you? Share that information. Share on the Facebook community more. Share in the chat. Erica does a fantastic job of sharing in the chat all the time. So those are some things for those shrinking violets, I think you said.
Yes.
They could do to be seen more in the Pivot Shift, even if they're not as vocal and vibrant in that regard as far as talking. Those are some ideas I have.
Yeah, and that's a great idea. Just the thought about for the person that's an introvert, you know, coming to a big party that's full of people is a little intimidating. But if that party grows around you, like you described, coming in early, that makes it a lot easier for them to get to know people and increase their comfort level. LaKayla.
Hi, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well.
Yay,
I
LaKayla.
think a few people have said this. I think at the end of the day, we have to be authentic. Be yourself. You can't go, you know, trying to duplicate something that's not you. One thing that I also do is that if someone says something, or if I resonate with someone, I may jot that person's name down and decide to have an offline conversation with them later, or just take genuine interest in people. And one of the things that I'm looking forward to, and I think we're building up to this, and Dan, you talked a little bit about that map marker app, is, and Jordana, you just said this, when we live in these various metropolitan places, then if you're not from there, if you're not familiar, you don't know all the suburbs. So trying to understand, not just geographically, we need to start understanding what people do, their specialty. Like, for example, I do a lot with seniors. So now that sets me apart and really start taking to heart who we're matching. I'm naturally a connector. And I find it interesting sometimes, like I know a gazillion people from Atlanta, and sometimes people get offended when you don't raise their hand, and I'm almost afraid whose name to put in fear that somebody else is going to get offended. It's not about that. It's enough to go around. But if I know for a fact that someone knows North Fulton better than another area, then we need to be comfortable that we're matching the right people. And I'm really looking forward to this follow-up webinar, because some people just don't know how to give referrals. In fact, my coach has actually advised me to watch it, because some people build their business too much on agent referrals and it cuts at your profitability. Some of these people aren't vetting. They'll say, I got a pre-approved, to only find out later that they're not. And his point is, it's not that it's bad, but if it's going to take you 90 to 120 days to nurture that person, you could have nurtured someone in your database and not paid out a referral fee. So I think we all need to become very intentional about how we're doing it and why we're doing it.
Thanks, LaKayla.
Thank you for that. Hey, you guys, I actually have to hop off this mastermind that I wrangled because I got to go show property. But I'm going to let you guys keep going because you guys are on fire and I can't wait to get the recording. It is 8 minutes until 2. And I know that Dan, who's hosting now, is also a busy man. I know before I go, Arlene Bianco has been waving her arm around. So please do call on her. She's ready to pop.
Okay.
I love you all.
Before you go, Janet, this is for you though.
Me?
So yes, because it's not a shrinking violet. I am that sunflower that stands in the back, and I really feel that I take in and I listen so much. But yes, I am one-on-one with people more so than the group. So now I'm going to be very purposeful about standing up and opening my mouth. So, and reaching out a little bit more. So I appreciate that reminder.
Excellent. I'm going to see you guys. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
You get it. Thank you. Good luck with your showing.
Okay. So Jack, I'm glad that I got a chance now to talk about you again, because Jack, one thing that people don't necessarily know is that you and I, we don't live very far from one another. We're, hopefully we'll get a chance to work a little more closely too. And Jack, one thing that you taught me, which I see in you in everything you do, is that you talk about not making contacts, but you talked to me once about how your goal is not to connect with people, but to endear yourself to people, that you really do endear yourself to people. And that just kind of blew my mind. And I think that's one of the things that you're known for, because that's just who you are and what you do. You're very purposeful about that. And it comes across very genuinely in your actions and your words.
Thank you for that, Dan, but I don't know that everybody endears me. I can tell you that, because sometimes I'm too direct. But the one thing I just want to bring up, I've heard such wonderful stuff from everybody here. There was the thing that I want to say is, Louise talked about as birthday Louise. I now do, my director of operations, Silvio, has changed our world in social media. And those of you that follow us on YouTube or on Instagram or on Facebook will know that he's changing our world that way. But the thing I now do is I do birthday calls. In fact, if you look at the back of my phone, you'll see Louise's disc that she sent me for happy birthday. And I put it on my phone so I could see it every day and be reminded of her, because she's certainly one of our cherished women on here as well. The other thing I want to talk about is matchmaking. There's a lot of groups that are in here, and LaKayla was talking about that before. And there's a lot of us that are on here on some of the groups. And I, like you, LaKayla, I don't send it in that message group. take a picture of it, send it directly out to the person. Because as you would say, you don't want anybody to be offended or that you didn't think of them. But I find that the first ones that see it are the ones really that grab it. The matchmaking thing that you're talking about, the out of the area referrals, and I'm sure, Dan, this happens to you as well, because we live here in the Tampa Bay area and we're both known for the Tampa Bay area. So as soon as I see I have people call me to ask me, who can I go to in Florida for this? Who can I go to in Florida for that? So we have those lists of people and the people that we've developed our relationships with. Certainly the only one I know in Minnesota is Kimbra. So who else am I going to do but send it to Kimbra, right? So we know the zones that we're in. You know, if you see these other referral groups that are out there, join them, because you don't necessarily have to belong to them. But it's a dearth of information and you're helping somebody else and you're also saying hello to them at the same time. So for me, it's sort of a double-edged sword there. But Dan, thank you for your comment. I mean, I really mean this. Tampa has changed my life. We've had a great life, but the past 6 years has been certainly the best years of my life. I can tell you that. And you and I know what it's like to live here in paradise and to love everybody come down. So, you know, Auntie Donna and I talk frequently as well. And you just develop these relationships and you want to call somebody and ask them a question. I mean, Ronnie helped me. I texted him this morning at 8 o'clock this morning and said, Ronnie, I need help with an RPR. And he said, sure, I'll see you at 9. So I went on there and he taught me things that I didn't even know that were even there. You know, we're all so busy working, building our businesses, but you've got Ronnie that does that, Louise that does this, and you got Lisa that does her thing, and Donna that does her thing, and Lee and Paul that do their thing. So, you know, we just have such a good group of people here, and I'm fortunate. And I'm sending Carol Castle big hugs.
Yeah, I think we all are. Thanks, Jack. So we're going to run out of time before we run out of hands to talk about things. So I guess what I wanted to ask is if someone has something that you want to contribute and we're not going to have time to go through the list just to wrap up at 2 o'clock, please go ahead and put it in the chat. If there's like a bullet point, and we'll get to as many as we can here. Frank, you raised your hand. You wanted to contribute with something. What do you want to add here?
You know, I think in this group, I mean, you got answers for everything. And I hop on, and sometimes the pre-call is as good, if not better, than the actual calls, especially if somebody has a question, because there's so much input from so many people in so many different ways. One of the things I do in my market center is I'm very active with all the new agents. And what I basically do with them is help them build confidence. Because so many people, and I'm sure people joining this group are brand new, they hear about, you know, this one's doing so many millions, this one's got so many closings, this one's got so many appointments in a day, and they feel very intimidated. And it's the reverse is just true. Because if we can identify those people and speak with them a little bit and show them the path that we've been through and still go through, because we all struggle with the same thing regardless of how much income we have, it really brings them along and inspires them. And the other thing I want to say is I've reached out to several people, Auntie Donna for one, I always call her that from now on. I reached out to Dan a couple of times, and Ronnie and several others here in the group. And everybody's always been very gracious, always willing to take the time to help answer any questions. And you just can't say enough about everybody here. And we got to get that out to the new people to help them build the confidence so they can do a great business.
Great. Thanks, Frank. Richard, I see you. I don't know what that means, but let me get to Jody and we'll quickly come to you, okay?
Hey,
right.
Thanks. For me, initially doing the scripts and role play was the best way to get to know people, because you're there, you're really present, you know, and I think that matters because it translates, you know, and then the new Wordle is the KW referral pages, right? You go there every morning spend like 10 minutes there and see who you know that you can refer, right? So it helps me not only remember where you are, where you're located, because I sometimes have to think, okay, who's in Dallas, Fort Worth, or, you know, who's in Virginia Beach? And So that's really helpful too. And somebody reached out to me once when I referred somebody else and said, hey, you know what? I also work that area. I just wanted to let you know. It was the friendliest conversation. It was great. And I would encourage you to do that too, if if you don't get mentioned. And then last point I would make is that we could do a speed dating happy hour kind of thing with Zoom rooms, where we just say, okay, just take 2 minutes, say a little bit about Minnesota, and the Twin Cities and whatever, and introduce yourself to 3 people in a room, and then we switch. So we could do something like that via Zoom.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Richard, you had a note there, and I'm not sure what it meant, but it sounded like it was something that you wanted to.
Yeah, promise you 10 seconds. Carol Castle, New York City. Why do I remember her? Because she gave me a gratitude stone. That has to be a very inexpensive thing, right? Yeah, Jack's got his up. I see everybody's got theirs up, right? Okay, how am I going to forget Carol? There's my 10 seconds. Done.
Thanks, Richard. All right, guys, it's 2:01. I know we could go on for a while. I see 3 more hands. And what I'm going to do is just honor those last 3 people, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up with those last 2 people, Francesca and Arturo.
Hi, Dan. Thanks to the group. I'm one of those people who does not speak up regularly, and that's because I feel bad that I'm not a Keller Williams agent. I've been on the call since the beginning. 2 years ago, I participated.
We can change that, Francesca.
I participate in script calls. I participate in a lot of book clubs and many things. I've met a lot of you in person. I've been, like I said, PIP 1, 2, business planning. So I do everything. But my question is, is there a disadvantage to someone referring me because I'm not with Keller Williams, even though I would offer the exact same referral fee? And so how do I overcome this? Or, again, many of you are in different states that I don't belong to, and I would, can refer people out of state. I don't have a problem with it because I feel like we're all trained the same, and I can tell this is a group of people that I respect. I have people in my own brokerage and my own team that I don't feel are trained as well. So that's all I could say, and maybe you can speak to that or give me some advice.
Yeah, I'm going to give you my own thought on that. Is that until you said you weren't a KW, I don't know that most people would have known that. It's just about the relationship. If people, if they know you and they know where you are and they trust you and like you, I think the same thing is true like with any other client that you might have. They know you, like you, trust you, they'll use you. And I think that's probably more of a limiting belief. So I would just say continue to participate and let people, let it be known where you are. That would be my suggestion to you. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Francesca.
Thank you.
All right, Arturo.
Thank you very much, Dan. I'll be quick. I know we're past the time, but thank you very much. So I just want to take on a topic that you touched earlier. I just finished my very first year in real estate, and before I got into the industry, I thought it was going to be like a dog-eat-dog kind of environment, this is my stuff, this is my client, this is my success, and then coming to the KW culture, start seeing that everybody shares, and I was blown away. And I was like, why in the world successful people would share their secrets with other people? Like, why in the world would they do that? And I joined this community and these calls recently, a few months ago, and thank you very much, Ronnie DiCarlo, for pushing me to do that. I'll be forever grateful to you. And it's when I joined this group, when I actually understood and everything made sense. And I'm like, oh, I get it. You know what I mean? I know why, and I know what, and I don't know what happens in other brokerages. This is the only, I don't have anything to compare it to. I don't know if this happens everywhere else or if we are just aliens. I have no idea, but whatever it is, I'm so grateful with the group, with every single one of you. And grateful that make me understand why people do this, you know, and what, and then you naturally are going to do it because that's the norm. You know what I mean? So I don't know if this is the norm or we're creating a norm, but I like it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Arturo. All right, guys, it's 2:05. I don't want to take everyone's time. I want to thank you all. Paul, I saw you raise your hand here at the end. Do you have a quick hitter?
Just a quick hitter from what Arturo, a spinoff of that. When we were at Century 21, another brand, it was a much different culture. We came to a KW office, and I had found, geez, we landed in an office with great people. How lucky are we? And then we found out why that was we didn't know it until years later, but it's basically because of the culture, the model that Gary created, that takes away the competitiveness between agents in an office, because to him, all agents are worth the cap. That's it. So no one gets treated with a special parking spot or extra beauty sheets printed for free or whatever it is. It's just everyone's treated equal to the owner of each market center. You're just a widget. Not that they don't love you, but there's no one going to get special treatment. So what that culture creates is we're all in this together with profit share to make it better. And it's true across the board. It's not to sound cold or anything, but it was by design. It wasn't by luck.
Yeah. Guys, I want to thank everyone for taking time to join us today. I hope that there are some golden nuggets there. You know, the whole idea of branding, the whole idea of participating, coming into the meetings early, participating in the Facebook group, doing the role play groups and building relationships there. And that those things you can very purposefully and very simply, you know, the birthday cards, find ways to connect with people, build relationships with people, and through contribution, have people come to you when they're in need of someone in your area. Thank you very much. I wish Janet was here to hear the thank you from her. So if you want to put a note there, you know, please put that in there. Louise, Deborah, Louise, Deborah, and Jack, thank you so much for contributing.
Before
And
you sign off, Dan,
yes,
we were talking about contributions, and you've contributed so much time and effort and energy and man hours into the spreadsheet. Thank you, Louise. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and I wish you the best. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah, we start Q2 pretty soon. So, guys, this is the week to.
One more week.
This is the week to start working on your 12-week new 12-week year. So you got something else to do on top of everything else. And hopefully it includes more agent-to-agent referral purposeful stuff, purposeful action.
Hopefully, yes.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Great-
It's a great
great
day.
day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
See you next week.